We have a Viking schedule. We've been kind of waiting for it now. We've known who the opponents would be for about 4 months, but we didn't know the order, and that is oh so important. Getting in a groove in the season, planning your trips. So we're going to break through it. I think we're going to do it in sections of 4 to keep the episode rolling. I'm here with Bryant McKinnie and Sal Spice. How are you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Yeah, you anxious to go through this schedule a little bit?
Yeah, I am.
All right. Sally, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. I love it when the schedule finally comes out because it feels like life just feels more settled
Mm-hmm.
and like you can plan the rest of the year. I feel like when anyone ever asks me, like say somebody has like a wedding or something or some sort of like thing they invite me to, I'm always like, well, I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't know the Viking schedule.
Yeah. Oh, I'm right there with you. It's been easier for me to sell that to friends and family now that this is like what I've been doing as a living for over 2 years. Is hey, no, I can't go to that shit. You know, that's Packer week. I can't go. When I used to say that when I was like 26, people would be like, "Really, football?" And I was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, that's kind of how it goes." But now I can get away with it a little bit.
no,
All right, let's jump
yeah,
into
they
this thing.
totally do.
Oh yeah, they
They
do.
totally do look at you like that, and it's like, can't you just do that another time? And it's like, well, no, I can't.
Yeah, it's
Don't plan your event on a Sunday or a home game weekend. Just don't do it if you
oh
want me
yeah.
to be there.
Yeah, that's happened to me. It happened a lot with little kids' birthday parties about 5 years ago. It was like they'd schedule one like week 1 or week 2, and I'm like, really? Like, there's just no way. And they'd be like, no, but we'll have the game on in the background. I'm like, no, that's not how I live my life.
No,
All right, out of the
no.
gate here, let's go through these first 4 games, Sally. For anybody that hasn't seen the schedule or that's only skimmed it, no matter how you dice it, with Darnold or McCarthy, or even if Kirk was still the quarterback, this is not an easy schedule. I feel like we've been conned for a third place schedule. This doesn't feel like it whatsoever, and I know it's nobody's fault. But to start off, Sally, I'm going to go through these 4 games. You tell me what stands off the page. At New York Giants, week 1. At home versus San Francisco 49ers, week 2. Week 3 versus Houston Texans. They're suddenly good. And then at the Packers, week 4. That should be what? First week in October, something like that. What do you think?
Well, first thing that stands out is I guess we can kiss our dreams of having a victory for the home opener to set the tone, starting off at home with the San Francisco 49ers. So that's a bit of a bummer. I think the first 4 games are tough. I'm
Yep.
sure you guys would agree. I think the best chance at a win is going to be the Giants, and that's still on the road. Lot to see. We haven't had training camp or preseason or any of that, but for right now, those first 4 look pretty tough.
Yeah, it's the first year since 2014 that we will go into a season not expecting much. Like our expectations are like we know it's going to be 6-11, 7-10, and if it happens to be better, great. But this is kind of the first year that the team hasn't, told us that we have Super Bowl or at least playoff contender stakes. Mainly because Darnold is the quarterback and a rookie is in the wings, and Kirk Cousins plays for the Falcons. The thing that stood off the page to me is it's kind of like last year where you looked at it and you're like, the Buccaneers, hey, they're not that great week 1. That's about as easy as it gets, folks. And then they beat us. And so it kind of feels the same thing about the Giants, but it's a little worse because it's on the road. And right now, folks are low on the Giants because they just think Daniel Jones is absolutely awful. I was hoping Ron would be on the show tonight so he could give his Daniel Jones speech. And then after that, like you said, Sally, it's boom, boom, boom. San Francisco is going to have vengeance on the brain from last year. The Texans are absolutely not a joke. And then at Green Bay is never easy. It'll probably be really competitive because it's a rivalry game, and who knows who will be quarterback by that time. But it was, I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect it to be this hard right away.
I will say I do love going to Green Bay early in the season to get that out of the way. I hate it when it goes down to week 17 or 18 and you're in Green Bay and it's usually always a night game in those circumstances. And selfishly, it is the day after my birthday, so love a Lambeau birthday celebration. Libra season, Bryant knows,
all
big
three
deal.
Libras, all 3 Libras are in the building today.
Oh yes, it is. That is true. I always forget about Dustin.
October 11th.
Um, but yeah, that's my takeaway. Bryant, what do you think?
Repeat the question.
All right, so we got the Giants. We got Giants on the road week 1, 49ers week 2, Texans, CJ Stroud week 3, and at Green Bay week 4. As a former Viking player, what stands off the page about that game of 4 games? Excuse me.
That is a tough 4-game stretch. I do believe there will be a surprise win in there with somebody. I can see the team really in that 4-game stretch really going like possibly 3-1.
a lot better than my forecast.
Wow.
Is.
Yeah.
It just really depends on how Cam and everything goes. And then like on the call today, Warren Moon said once they get their quarterback situation figured out, because it's all the pieces are there. So once you get that quarterback situation really figured out, you do have like a good supporting cast. I can see the team doing okay. At least 2-2, but possibly 3-1.
2-2, we'd probably be ultra excited because the schedule doesn't get easy right after that, but it would tell us that, hey, at least Sam Darnold is doing the trick, or if it's McCarthy out of the gate, 2-2 would be wonderful if he's the quarterback because you would have found 2 wins. Say that again, Sally?
I was going to say, Bryant McKinnie, the resident homer of Believe in Vikings.
3-1.
Who knew?
Sally, on Sam Darnold, I don't know that I've got your take on this. Do you think that he can do the Baker Mayfield thing from last year where he's finally unlocked and to be like an almost quasi Pro Bowl player like Baker Mayfield, or is that just doing more of the homer speak?
Pro Bowl might be a stretch, but I do think that he's capable of having success at quarterback and some consistency and being a bridge quarterback guy. I think especially, with Kevin O'Connell helping him and, getting him into the system. I mean, look at Josh Dobbs. It was brief, but he had success under Kevin O'Connell. So I think just knowing that he's somewhere where he is supported, where he was wanted, and an offensive coach who seems like he knows what he's doing, it's giving him hopefully a sense of confidence that he didn't have at his previous stops.
Yeah, the reason I said Pro Bowl is because Baker Mayfield made his first Pro Bowl last year, and the enthusiasts that think, hey, Darnold, his story isn't over, isn't written yet, they compare him to Baker Mayfield, or the extreme is Jared Goff, who turned it around when he got to Detroit. If it was up to me, I would start McCarthy out of the gate so long as he didn't look like a moron this summer. But that's because I am prepared for this season to be 5-12, 6-11. I'm fine with that. If that's what it takes to get to 2025 with a lot of momentum. I kind of hope it goes like 2014 with Bridgewater, where they finished 7-9, but nobody was mad. It felt like trending up. Following year, they win the division. Let's just hope McCarthy is healthier and better than Bridgewater. Let's jump into these next 4 games. At London, October 6th, against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Sally, then it is a bye, an early bye. This is a lot different than last year. At home versus the Lions. Turn around, do Thursday night football at the Rams. At home versus the Colts and Anthony Richardson. That's a slightly watered down from the first 4 games, but not by much. What say you?
Well, first of all, I mean, I don't like that I have to wake up at 8:30 in the morning and start my day off with Aaron Rodgers across the pond. It's not really the vibe I'm going for in Libra season. But and that would have been a cool game to actually have at home. That would have been interesting. So it's a bummer to lose out that. I was a little surprised because we knew the London game. We've known that for a couple weeks, right? Or at least a week when that was.
No, well, we always knew what time of year, but it was down to the Texans, maybe the Colts, possibly the Jets, and it ended up being the Jets.
Oh, I thought we've known the date for a bit now.
Okay, maybe we have.
But I thought that they stopped doing that. You had to have a bye immediately after your London trip. So I was surprised that it was so early. And then Detroit at home. I mean, as a tailgate hostess, this is a lot of pressure for me to make sure people have a good time. because it's good. It could be pretty bleak. And you hate that, especially when it's still nice outside in
Mhm.
September and October, and it's really the only enjoyable tailgating weather, and people are just miserable and sad. I don't love that. As I'm sure no one loves that, but just a little additional responsibility for me. Yeah, and then the Rams on a Thursday night, it's tough.
Yeah, that's going to be Minter and Minty, Kevin O'Connell, and Sean McVay, and then back home against the Colts. It's weird that the Colts feel like an easy game, which it won't be, but based on the murderer's row that they endured or encountered in the first two and a half months or so, yeah, you come back home. Hopefully, they start winning football games at home. That's the one thing we haven't talked about enough this offseason is how the Vikings were suddenly bad at home last year, and I mean, they were bad with Kirk and they were bad without Kirk. So it wasn't like, hey, injuries undid everything. I'll read it again for you, Brian, in case you don't have it pulled up. They play,
the Jets,
Jets, Lions, Rams, and Colts.
Rams and Colts.
What say you? What do you think of that?
That may be another 2-2 set.
Hey, we'll take it. You're cooking.
Right. I can see that being 2-2. I just always feel like it could be a game. I just really have to see how the quarterback plays. Like there'll be some games that I feel like they'll pull out a win that we didn't expect. I'm not sure in which one of these four, but I feel like this one is 2-2.
Yeah. If you don't have to attach a record if you don't want. Sally and I aren't doing that because we got to see, like you keep talking about the quarterback.
Yeah, I have to see.
It's tricky to do. If McCarthy in the first 2 weeks looks like he's ready to be the quarterback, then we can go crazy with, hey, 9-8, blah, blah, blah. But if it's just Darnold doing Darnold things, then we're well on our way to 6-11 or something like that. So I guess from the player reaction, you never played in London, correct?
I haven't.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to thinking about that bye week, like Sally talked about. The Vikings had the option to say no thanks last year, which they did, and they pushed the bye week all the way till basically the last possible time. And this year they took it, so they must have learned some kind of lesson that said, we will. Yeah, last year there was.
Sense.
Yeah, last year there was some folks that were mad that they didn't take the bye right after London. I mean, just fans that said they probably should do that, but the Vikings didn't want it that way. And I don't know, maybe this year it wasn't optional, but certainly it's.
I feel like wasn't London later last year?
No, London or 2 years ago. Excuse me, it was against the Saints, and it was earlier. I think it was
week 3, maybe
week 4 because it was on my son's birthday. Yeah, I thought about going. Yeah, so I guess it was the same week. It was just moved up on the calendar a little, or no, it was a week before last time. Excuse me.
Gotcha.
Well, so the Jets thing jumps off the page to me because I just assumed that this would end up being an AFC South team, probably the Jaguars or the Texans. And the Vikings have never lost regular season or exhibition across the pond or internationally at all. So they're going to put their undefeated streak on the line. And then they'll get ample time to prepare for the Lions, who are no longer, just the kid brothers. They've morphed into the big brothers somehow. Not optimistic about that. Normally, for a Vikings team on the road, I'd be like, well, going to Los Angeles, there's an L. But this is Kevin O'Connell's grudge game. And by this time on the schedule, we should know beyond the shadow of a doubt if Sam Darnold is any good or if we've transitioned to McCarthy or it's somewhere in the middle. So I think as we get closer to this, we'll be able to gauge what type of vibe we have for Thursday Night Football. Surprisingly, there's only 2 prime time games. This is like one of the smallest allotment you can have outside of the Panthers with 0, right there in the bunch with the Broncos and all the teams that people don't think are very good. This is also
been a long time. I feel like even when they weren't very good, I mean, they were still getting 5 or 6.
Yeah. We went through a ride there, and then notably, I can tell you this because of being a family man. This is the first time in 5 years we haven't had a game on a holiday. This whole season since 2020. I kid you not, they either have Halloween, New Year's, Thanksgiving, Christmas or Christmas Eve, and sometimes they have a few of them in there.
Yeah. There was one year they had Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas.
Yeah, that wasn't too long ago. I think that was 2022.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah, because
So
they beat the Patriots.
yep. Yeah, for sure. And it's weird to only have two, but how come one of them has to be the Bears? It's always the Bears on Sunday night or Monday night. I will never understand because rarely has it even been in the last, I don't know, at least decade, has it been competitive, interesting, or meaningful that late in the season.
Yeah, they're never good at the same time. It's weird. Like those two teams are never good at the same time. And even if they were, they're always going to have a game that's like 17-9, especially at Soldier Field. This year, the only switch up is it's at US Bank Stadium. And we are normally guaranteed to go to Soldier Field for a primetime game, but they've switched it up. And we're going to get to that here. Is that right now? Yeah, we're getting to that. No, we get to that in the next little segment. All right,
Okay.
after the Colts, we have this very strange run of road games. So here are the next four: at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, at Chicago, and then versus Arizona. So if we're in by week 9, week 10, if we have gathered that the Vikings are quasi-competitive and Darnold's doing the thing or McCarthy's doing the thing, this is when the schedule starts to open up. And only then. It's not that these teams suck, but they're not the 49ers, the Texans, the Packers. So again, at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, at Chicago, at home versus Arizona. You agree with that assessment that that's the mushy part, Sally?
Yeah, absolutely. I hate that it's 3 away games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I hate that. And again, from the tailgating perspective, those are usually like okay, so weather games
Mm-hmm.
at home and losing them all in November pretty much. So that's a bummer. And my two destinations that I wanted to go to, number one was definitely Jacksonville, number two, Tennessee, and they're back to back. So that kind of sucks because I'm gonna have to choose between which one.
Are you
But
leaning one way?
I really want to go to Jacksonville, but everyone else wants to go to Nashville.
Yeah.
I've been
So
hearing Nashville is like a really good time though.
it is, but I don't know. Jacksonville has just always been somewhere that I want to go.
Well,
And and they're getting a new stadium, so it's probably the last time the Vikings will play there. I need to see those pool suites.
Oh, okay.
You know how they have the pools
I
deck?
do. Oh, yeah. That's famous.
Brian, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
What? You could literally, they have swimming pools
Oh, I didn't know
at the
that.
stadium.
Never
You can
knew
watch
that.
the game. Yeah.
They should highlight that more. I wonder if they're going to in the new stadium. Would they have them in the new stadium?
I don't know. I think they just put like the proposal out last week. I don't know
Oh.
if they have the pools.
It's kind of
You,
weird.
you would,
Every new stadium is pretty much the same, and it's modeled after the Viking Stadium. So I don't know if Jacksonville will
yeah.
be like that.
Well, it's open air,
Okay.
obviously, but I mean, you would think that's got to be a huge liability, like insurance wise and stuff, to have people just drinking in the
Drinking
pool.
and swimming.
Like,
Right.
what'd you say?
I said drinking and swimming. I know, right?
Well, and because I was looking into those tickets, they're all inclusive food and drink.
Oh, really?
Oh.
So you would have to think people are getting bombed and peeing all in that pool.
Right.
You can't miss the game.
Bryant, what do you think of that section at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, at Chicago, at home versus the Cardinals?
I do feel like that is a section where injuries may come into play. Just seeing who's still healthy. That's a lot of road games. That is a lot of road games back to back too. And you gotta win some on the road.
Can you remember stretches like that, 3 in a row?
Not 3, maybe 2, but I don't recall 3.
Yeah, I have to go back through your career. I bet you there's once or twice where you had to do that because I've seen it before. It's just not very frequent. I'll have to go. Now it's a personal challenge. I'm gonna look that up tonight and see when you had to do it.
Yeah,
and then see how we did too.
Yeah, I'll do it here. It's gonna go on my to-do list.
Sending you some pics, Brian, of the pool.
Okay.
You might have to come out, you know.
Right.
So my first glance of that 4-game stretch, and it's so weird. Whenever I think about the 2024 Vikings, it's going to take me a while to adjust because every time I think about a schedule, I think of like, all right, no, that will be the playoff. That'll be when you're trying to get the playoff. Like I'm still thinking as if they're a playoff contender when I know in my heart of hearts that this team probably won't do that. But I'm so ingrained the last decade that, hey, the Vikings are usually 7-6 that week. So I want to make sure I try to think about going to this game. I'm like, no, they're probably going to be 4-8. What the hell are you thinking? But at that juncture on the schedule, if the defense is rip roaring and the offense is starting to click, the team would want to be about 4-4 by week 10. And then because this section is mushy, and it doesn't help that it's on the road, but Jaguars, Titans, Bears, Cardinals, that is about as easy as it's going to get for the 2024 Vikings. So in theory, if they're frisky at 4-4 or even 3-5 and want to win a couple, they had a similar spot last year. That is when they would start to, do the thing and win the games because they will have gotten over the hump of all of the tricky ones. So I'm looking forward to that, assuming that they'll be somewhat competitive because it really starts to open up. All right, let's do these. Let's see. There are 5 more, so I'm going to lasso these, and then we can spend a little bit of time at the division games at the end. But Sally, week 14 is not prime time, but it is against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. And then the following week, so we have 3 home games in a row. Let's not forget that. The following week is at home, Monday Night Football against the Bears. We touched on a little bit. Then they go to the Seahawks. That is a regular role. I'm guessing that'll be in the late afternoon window. At home versus the Packers, which usually I'd say sweet. But I still have last year's memory seared into my brain, whereas like that didn't even matter that it was at home. And then at Detroit, we've subbed out playing the Bears at home every year to going to Detroit. So Sally, take it home, talking about the last part of the Viking schedule, stuff that stands off the page.
I know. I feel like I ranted about that Lions not being the last game for 10 years. And then it's like, be careful what you wish for. They finally last year changed it, and now the Lions are good. It feels intentional to me. And all right, well, we've got 4 home games in December. Pretty crazy. I'm very surprised that they didn't make Atlanta the Sunday night game. I think that would have been great, not only for the storyline, but primetime Kirk. See how that works out. I'm going to make the bold assessment though that Kirk's going to be benched by then. So.
Oh wow, that would be bold.
So that storyline's not even going to be there. But I don't expect Atlanta to be that good. Chicago, I think we already touched on that's a primetime game. Don't understand why. Haven't been to Seattle in a few years though, so it'll be nice to be back.
We also haven't won at Seattle since 2006. They've lost 5 straight games there.
Oh, I was there.
Oh yeah. They that was the last time they won a game in Seattle. We had this dreadful stretch with Russell Wilson in charge, where every year they went to Seattle and every year they lost. And now Russell's.
Atlanta, is that home or away?
Falcons is at home, and it's all of these games, right? When we're talking about this section, they are subject to the flex. So in theory, Sally, that Monday night game against the Bears may not even happen. One of the teams would have to be good for that to probably occur. But yeah, that Bryant, that game is at Seattle, and then at home Monday Night Football against the Bears. And then the Packers, is that right around Christmas? I didn't look at the exact
the 29th.
Okay, right after Christmas. Yeah, it's weird. We've had some sort of dabblings with Christmas football, like I think 4 out of the last 5 seasons. And so I just assumed this one had to be either Christmas Eve, or Christmas. And no, the game before that, it's none of it. We kind of have Christmas to ourselves, even though the NFL will be on. And then Bryant at Detroit to round it out. So do you like those end of season division games that are the thing now?
Yeah, I mean,
it
gives it more value at the end. Like you really have to win, like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, it's more on the line towards the end of the season too, especially depending on where you are, record wise.
We also had. Go ahead, Sally.
I think obviously we all know it makes everything more interesting. It also I think prevents that certain teams are resting players and stuff, because those are going to be more competitive games. You can be, even if you might already have a guaranteed seed to get in, you can still play spoiler for your division rival. I think it keeps the games more interesting in those situations, and it just makes it more fair that almost every team is playing for at least a little bit of something in the last 2 weeks.
Let me ask you this, Sally. Now that you have the tangible document and in front of you, what are you most looking forward to? Like, is there a game? Is it the would-be road trip to Nashville? Is it just week one, playing the Giants, getting back to things? What's the most exciting part of it?
I mean, to me, and I'm sure I'm going to say this 100 times this offseason, the most exciting thing to me is just the unknown. I don't really care if they win 4 games. Of course, would I like them to win more than that? Yeah, but I think we're finally going to be seeing something new, and we possibly have our franchise quarterback now, and it's going to be so interesting to see how it plays out with, does he start? When will he start? How will Sam Darnold do? What is the offense going to look like? And I think that these are all things that over the last 6 years weren't really there. I mean, maybe the first year there was some questions, and maybe when Kevin O'Connell took over. But to me, like, this is what I wanted for years now, to be able to have this unknown, and that's so exciting. Even if it doesn't work out, at least there's new things to talk about, new storylines, and I think that the ceiling is so much higher now of where we can go.
From rookie,
not this year, but in general.
From rookie minicamp, that was 2-3 day event last weekend. We haven't got a lot of your JJ McCarthy takes. Are you really excited about this gentleman? Does he fit what you were looking for life after Kirk, at least stylistically?
You know me, I don't like to get too high on anything. I want to see how it goes, because I don't want to be disappointed. I mean, look, the last thing I got super excited about was Josh Dobbs, and that that came crashing down pretty quickly. I know it's not the same. But yeah, I'm super excited about it. I mean, that's Kevin O'Connell's guy. That's my guy. So I think it'll be great to see. He seems like he's really excited to be here. He is taking it all in. Justin Jefferson is excited to have him here. So I think it's going to be great.
And then if let's say McCarthy looks good in training camp and preseason, if you were in charge, would you play him right away, or would you let him watch for a month or so?
I think if it seems like in preseason, if it ends up that he's taking snaps with the first team and he looks confident, then sure, go for it. But I'd rather him. I mean, I want him to feel comfortable. I don't want him to be shell-shocked or rush him into something, especially when the expectations for this season aren't, win the division and get in to deep in the playoffs. So I would rather them take their time with him and really make him feel comfortable, because this is a long-term thing. It's not about winning right this minute.
All right, and the last thing I have is for you, Bryant. So let's see, how many seasons did you do this? About 14 or so? If you were to get this schedule as a player, what would you be looking at right now? Saying, in the past, you've told us you look to see when the bye week is. I think you've said primetime games. What's the first thing that you don't even have to use this schedule. In general, remind the viewers, what's the first thing a player looks at when he sees a fancy new schedule?
You see the new schedule, like, based on my position, I think about who I'm going against on each team.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So now I think about my opponent for each one, and really like the level of the opponent.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. And then I look at the first couple of games leading up to the bye week and try to predict what our record will be leading into the bye week.
Yeah.
And then after that, coming out, basically how I was calling out what I thought the record would be is what I kind of do is kind of go off what I think the schedule will be. But I feel like there's always going to be a couple of games where you may win, you may be able to squeak out a win in some. That's what I hope. That, and then just seeing what games are primetime games. I feel like those are the games that a lot of people really play, like a lot more physical. The Thursday night games, and I always like to see who I play before that, because I know my rest time is going to be shorter from that Sunday to that Thursday. But then, once I play Thursday, I'll be more rested to that following Sunday. So all those type of things, just to give me an idea of how I'm gonna feel and stuff like that, and who my opponent is and how I'll be rested. And if I play on that Sunday, then turn around on that Thursday, do I play another physical player or vice versa? It's just a lot.
No, that's awesome. Go ahead.
Do you ever look at the schedule and think, well, I'll be home in January. This is nice.
No.
Now the teams he was on.
The schedule and felt like I'll be home, because that's why I say, like, sometimes you just don't know. You look at a schedule and some things, like, people put, W's next to certain things that they think teams that they're going to beat. You just don't know sometimes. So the year that Brett Favre came, I had no clue that we'd go 12-4. Like, didn't know he was coming. So you just never know what's going to take place during the season.
What about when you get a schedule, and since you're from, is it South
East Coast, so yes. South Jersey, yeah.
Yeah, so do you look and say,
right, so I look at certain things at what games that I feel like a lot more of my family's going to ask for tickets.
Yeah.
So the Giants game, they'll definitely drive up for that game, the Giants and the Jets. Well, the Jets was at home, I believe, right?
At London.
Oh, that's at London, so I wouldn't have to worry about that. So for sure, the Giants, will be a game that I know that a lot of people will ask me for tickets. So that is another thing that I would look at, too. So if we play the Eagles, that's basically right where I'm from, I know I have to get a lot of tickets if we play them at home. So certain games, yeah.
Here's another thing you need. Another thing you need to look at is, when are you coming to Minnesota?
Oh, yes, that is. I mean, it just came out a few hours ago. Give me a chance. We were on that call today, too, and they were trying to figure out they screamed out that Bryant, I wanted to have the Legends weekend in December. I did not say that. They were like, yeah, no. In December. I said, they're like, what? I said, I never said that. But they always have the weekend of my birthday, and I'm like, well, you always have my birthday weekend, so it's like, that's why I'll never come. But I'm going to come, whether it's with that Legends weekend or on my own. I am going to come sometime this season.
Weren't you at in Minneapolis for the comeback against the Colts?
Yeah, I thought it was like bad luck at first, because I was like, this is terrible.
You were messaging us, yeah.
Right, like, this is like the terrible game to come to, and then they pulled it out.
Yeah, and the year before, you came for the Cowboys game, which was also a spanking.
Yeah, so I feel like me coming to these games, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Like, but yeah, so I thought I came back again to another terrible game, but it ended up being.
Weren't you watching it with like Chester Taylor or something?
Yeah, we were hosting like a watch party.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then they
and like people left and came to the watch party because they were leaving the game, and they just came there to get a drink and stuff, and then ended up turning around, and it was a whole like comeback.
Yeah, that one will forever be etched in my memory, mainly because I wanted to leave at halftime. I wanted to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
But my friend Yannick Eckhart, who writes on Vikings Territory, he wanted to stay because it was his first game, and I was like, why do you want to do this? I was like, if they go 3-and-out, we're getting the hell out of here after the half. And they went 3-and-out. I was like, you want to go? And he was like, no, let's just stay. I'm like, God, this guy doesn't know anything. And then we stayed. Oh, my wife and I would have been long on 169 heading home.
I wanted to leave too, because that was the first time that I was like, oh, let's leave the tailgate tent up because we're going to win the division this game, or we're going to get our playoff. Yeah, wasn't it the division?
Yeah, that was like a footnote.
We're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like, we're going to win the division this game, so we're going to run out here as soon as the game's over. We're going to leave the tent up, so we're not going to get in trouble. It's going to be great. And all I'm thinking about is the tailgate tent is probably blown across the street by now, and we're sitting in here watching this garbage. I just want to leave. There's free alcohol out the car.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God I didn't. My friends wouldn't let me leave either. But
yeah, I often think back to that because it's not like I would have, tugged my wife on the elbow and said, hey, let's go, hun. No, we would have been the hell out of there at halftime. Especially because after the little caveat that I had with Yannick was, if they go 3-and-out and they get the ball, there's no way we're going to stay. And he just smiled. And then it happened. And I said, are you ready to go? And he said, no. And I was like, oh my God. Like, well, I guess. And then even like when they scored the first touchdown, I was like, ooh, like here comes the comeback. Like, making fun of them. And then it actually happened. So I don't know if that will ever be repeated by anybody, let alone the Vikings. But yeah, that was whole 2022 season was an absolute roller coaster. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Do we get
Understood.
everything covered on the schedule? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we wrapped it up. I guess I haven't looked at any other team schedules. I can do that later.
Yeah.
Like the
Well,
Lions schedule.
yeah, the only thing that's irritating is we came this close to getting the 4th place schedule, and that schedule belongs to the Bears, and that son of a bitch is easy because they have the Patriots, the Panthers, and the Commanders, I believe. It's like 3 teams, and instead we got like the Jets because they got 3rd place. So like beating the Raiders by a field goal caused this anguish because that's what separated.
Josh Dobbs, another thing he messed up. Not that game, but I'm saying in general if he didn't win those games. I thought of another question. Now I forgot.
Was it gone?
Oh, do we know who's on Hard Knocks?
The Giants.
Oh.
Yeah. So
that's
at least
boring.
they'll be preparing for us out of the gate.
Right.
Yep.
True. Ooh.
All right, guys. We'll see. Hopefully Ron's back in a couple weeks, but we will talk to you guys 2 weeks from tonight. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Take it easy. Go, baby.
Oh.